विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः। नमो ब्रह्मण्य देवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome all of you. So in the previous session we discussed about the overview of chapter 1, how this whole chapter 1 is divided into different sections, and you can see that on the screen that section A is all about preparation of the war, that is how it is being described, and section B, hopefully we will try to enter section B today, and that is the signs of victory of the Pandavas. There are, even before the war began, already there were certain signs that Pandavas would definitely win. And then section number, the third section C, is Krishna as Bhaktavatsala, that how Krishna is so magnanimous that he takes a lower position in order to serve his devotees. And this is the section 1, which has 3 subsections, and section number 2 is where Arjuna is giving different reasons why there should be no war and why we should not fight this battle of Kurukshetra. So he's on the battlefield, and on the battlefield now he wants to actually completely condemn this battle, and he's giving a lot of logic and reasoning in order to stop this war and not fight this war. So that also we will understand as we go forward. So today let's begin with the shloka number 4, and this is very, very interesting because we are going to discuss some very important aspects in the next upcoming few verses. It's very, very interesting. So probably one of you, because I will be asking one of you to come online and chant. So Samir ji, can you please unmute yourself and try to repeat, and nothing to worry about. Even if you don't get certain words, the Sanskrit words
Okay.
is still fine. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So please repeat after me, line by line. Atra Shura Maheshwacha
Atra Shura Maheshwacha
Bhima Samayudhi
Bhimarjuna Samayudhi
Yuyudhano Viratasya
Yodhano Viratasya
Drupadasya Maharataha.
Drupadasya Maharataha.
Fantastic, you did very well. So now please repeat the word to word meaning also. Atra,
Atra,
here.
yes, here.
Suraha,
Suraha,
heroes.
hero.
Maheshwachaha,
Maheshwacha,
mighty bowmen.
mighty bowman.
Bhimarjuna,
Bhimarjuna,
Bhima and Arjuna.
Bhima and Arjuna.
Samaha,
Samaha,
equal.
equal.
Yudhi,
Yudhi,
in the fight.
in the fight.
Yuyudhanaha,
Yudhana,
Yuyudhana.
Yudhana.
Virataha,
Virataha,
Virata.
Virata.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Drupadaha,
Drupadaha,
Drupada.
Drupada.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Maharataha,
Maratha,
great fighter.
great fighter.
Please repeat the translation as well. Here in this army,
Here is this army.
there are many heroic bowmen
There are many heroic women
in the fighting to Bhima and Arjuna.
equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna.
Good, very nice, you corrected me. There are also great fighters like Yuyudhana,
There are also great fighters like Yudhana,
Virata and Drupada.
Virata and Drupada.
Fantastic, very nice. Alright, so you can mute yourself now. All of you can mute yourself. So, very interesting here. After speaking about Drishtadyumna to Dronacharya, you know this scene now. This is a conversation that is happening between Duryodhana and Dronacharya. So now he is telling, my dear Dronacharya, my dear Guru, you see, I want to explain to you all the different great heroes who are there on the side of Pandavas. Atra means you see there. Shura, very powerful men. Maheshwasha, bowmen, very great archers. So when there is a war, in the war there are different types of fighters. There are club fighters, there are fighters with the spears, there are fighters with the sword, and there are also very expert archers. And among all the different kinds of fighters, the people who were expert in archers are considered to be very, very powerful. We should know that archery is a very beautiful science. In olden days, there used to be something called as Shastra and Astra. You must have heard Shastra and Astra. Shastras are those weapons like swords and spears and any weapon which is not mystical, which does not have any connection with any mantra, is called Shastra. But whereas there were lot of powerful weapons which were invoked by some mystical mantras, and they were called as Astras, like Brahmastra, and we have Narayanastra. So Astras are very powerful weapons which are invoked by reciting the powerful mantras. So we will see in this Mahabharata later on, Ashwathama releases Brahmastra, Arjuna releases Brahmastra, Ashwathama also releases Narayanastra. So these are all called Astras because they are invoked by special mantras. In fact, even in Ramayana, Lord Rama, he just plucks one grass and then he invokes Brahmastra in the grass, in a leaf of grass, and then he releases that to the son of Indra who had assumed the form of a crow. So that is the difference between Astra and Shastra. So Shastras actually are having no mystical powers, Astras have mystical powers. And here he is saying Bhima Arjuna. Although he is saying bowman, you must know that Bhima is not a bowman. He is a club fighter. But he is taking Bhima's name before. He is not taking Arjuna's name first. He is taking Bhima's name first. Why Bhima? Because this Duryodhana was very paranoid about Bhima. He was very clear, if at all I have to die in the hands of Bhima. And he also knew very, very well the strength of Bhima. And from the core of his heart, Duryodhana hated Bhima like anything. So that is the reason he is taking Bhima's name first here and then he is taking Arjuna's name. Samayudhi. So there are many, many great people, bowmen, fighters on equal par like Bhima and Arjuna. And who are these great people? Yuyudhano. Yuyudhana's another name is also Satyaki. And this Satyaki actually happens to be the disciple of Dronacharya. He learned the military science from Dronacharya. In fact, he also took some training from Arjuna as well. So, in that sense, Satyaki, this Yuyudhana, is younger than Bhima and Arjuna. So, he had taken training from both Dronacharya and Arjuna. And on the 14th day of the battle, this Yuyudhana fought very valiantly and he killed Bhurishrava. So, Bhurishrava was on the other side, opposite side, fighting on the side of Kauravas. So that is how Yuyudhana. Virata. Now Virata was another very great king, and you all know that during the exile, the 13th year, where the Pandavas were supposed to be incognito, Virata is one who actually helped the Pandavas to remain incognito. And Virata also happens to be the relative of the Pandavas because he gave his daughter Uttara to the son of Arjuna, Abhimanyu. So Uttara became the wife of Abhimanyu, and that is how Virata was related to the Pandavas. He was a very expert fighter again. And then Drupada. So you know that Drupada, already in the last session we discussed how powerful Drupada was. A very, very powerful king, and very, very, all these kings are called Maharataha. So, who is the Maharataha? So, in the Vedic times, especially during the fight of this Kurukshetra, different grades of fighters were there. Just like many people in defense, I think Chaudhary sir is also here, he knows that he is from Air Force, and even in the defense system there are different grades. There are soldiers, there are brigadiers, there are colonels, and each one of them have different powers. So similarly, in those olden days, there used to be different grades of fighters. So the very lowest rung was called Ardharatha. Ardharatha means he is a person, he is a fighter who actually needs help from another person to fight with even one chariot. He is called Ardharatha. He needs an external help to fight even with one chariot. Then there is another next level, that is called Ekaratha. So Ekaratha is a person, is a fighter who can have an one-to-one battle with one chariot. He is on a chariot, he can fight with another person, Ekaratha. And then Maharataha. So Maharathi is one who can single-handedly at once can fight with 1,000 chariots. So that is the power of a Maharathi. So one person single-handedly can deal and fight with 1,000 fighters. So that is Maharataha. And above Maharataha, there is someone called as Atirataha. Atirathi is one who can at once fight with 10,000 chariots. So that is how powerful they used to be. So these are not imaginary things. So very powerful kings, and they had immense strength. So it is not like the Kali Yuga body. In the Kali Yuga, the bodies are very weak. So maximum height is 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". But the people in Dwapar Yuga, they were quite tall and very broad-chested and very powerful. You know, their physical strength was amazing. So that is how Drupadascha Maharataha. So this is the fourth word where he is describing. Next, let's go to the fifth word and understand what is this Duryodhana up to. Drishtaketu Chekitanaha. Wonderful. Kashi Rajascha Viryavan. Purujit Kunti Bhojascha. Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha. Wonderful. So let's go to the word to word meaning now. Please repeat. Drishtaketuhu. Drishtaketu. Chekitanaha. Chekitana. Kashirajaha. Kashiraja. Cha. Also. Viryavan. Very powerful. Purujit. Purujit. Kunti Bhojaha. Kunti Bhoja. Cha. And. Shaibhyaha. Shaibhya. Cha. And. Narapungavaha. Heroes in the human society. Wonderful. Please repeat the translation. There are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Shaibhya. Wonderful. So you can mute yourself now. So here, very beautifully, now he is describing few more fighters on the side of the Pandavas. Drishtaketu. Who is this Drishtaketu? You all know Shishupala. Shishupala was very envious about Krishna, and he always was talking against Krishna, ill about Krishna. So he was a deadly enemy, and Drishtaketu happens to be the son of Shishupala. And Chekitana is the son of Drishtaketu. So Chekitana is the grandson of Shishupala. So you should know, although Shishupala was a very ardent fighter or enemy of Krishna, his own children were not enemies of Krishna. In fact, they were fighting on the side of the Pandavas. So then there is Kashiraja. Kashiraja, in earlier days, sometimes they used to address the kings by the names of the place where they were ruling. So the king of Kashi at that time, so Kashiraja was there, very Viryavan, very powerful. Purujit also, the place of Puru, the king of place called Puru. Kunti Bhoja, you all know, Kunti was adopted by Kunti Bhoja. Then that is how she also was called as Kunti. Actually her name is Pritha. That's why sometimes in the Bhagavad Gita we will see that Arjuna is referred as Partha because he is son of Pritha. He is sometimes also called as Kaunteya because he is son of Kunti. So Kunti got her name because she was adopted by Kunti Bhoja. And Shaibhya, a king of the place called Shaibhya. Cha Narapungavaha. So Duryodhana is saying these people are Narapungavaha. These are the men like bull. They are men among the bulls. Very, very, very powerful. Extremely powerful kings. So that is how he is describing all these different. And all of them are very powerful. So let's go to the next verse. 6th verse now. Okay, let me see who can come next. Chaitanya, you can unmute yourself. Okay, please repeat the 6th verse.
Yeah.
Yudhamanyuscha vikranta
Yudhamanyassu vikranta
uttamojascha viryavan
uttamojascha viryavan
saubhadro draupadeyascha
Shaubhadro Draupadeyascha
sarva eva maharatah.
Sarva eva maharatah.
Okay, great, wonderful. So this Yudhamanyu and Vikranta also fought very valiantly on the day 13th and 14th of this battle of Kurukshetra. We will explain that, but let us first understand the word-to-word meaning. Yudhamanyu,
Yudhamanyu
Yudhamanyu,
Yudhamanyu
Cha,
Cha
and
and
Vikrantah,
Vikrantah
mighty,
mighty
Uttamauja,
Uttamauja
Uttamauja,
Uttamauja
Cha,
Cha
and Viryavan,
Viryavan
very powerful,
very powerful
Saubhadraha,
Saubhadraha
the son of Subhadra,
son of Subhadra
Draupadeya,
Draupadeya
the sons of Draupadi,
the sons of Draupadi
Cha,
Cha
and
and
Sarve,
all
Eva, certainly, Maharatah,
Maharatah
great chariot fighters. Translation: there are the mighty Yudhamanyu,
there are mighty Yudhamanyu,
the very powerful Uttamauja,
the very powerful Uttamauja,
the son of Subhadra,
the son of Subhadra,
and the sons of Draupadi.
and the sons of Draupadi.
All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Okay, you can mute yourself now. So here, Yudhamanyu and Vikranta were very, very powerful fighters, and they also fought on the 13th and the 14th day of the battle. Uttamaujas also. Viryavan, very, very powerful. Here, we should know that Arjuna had multiple wives. Arjuna had Draupadi, Subhadra, Ulupi and Chitrangada. So he married all these great queens, and he had different sons from all these different wives of Arjuna. And very interesting point to note, if you see this whole battle of Kurukshetra, there are almost 4 generations who have assembled to fight. 4 generations. There is the topmost generation of Bhishma, the eldermost. There is then Dronacharya level. Then there is Bhima and Arjuna and Duryodhana at another level, and their children. Subhadra's children, Abhimanyu is there. Then there are sons of Draupadi. Duryodhana's son Lakshmana is there. So almost 4 generations all have gathered together to fight this battle of Kurukshetra. Now interestingly, although there are many people, great fighters, Duryodhana is taking the name of Saubhadro. Who is the son of Subhadra and Arjuna? Anyone? Let me see in the chat section who gives the first answer.
Abhimanyu.
Yes, Abhimanyu is the son of Subhadra. So we should know that this Abhimanyu was a surprise hero in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Because this Abhimanyu was not known to most of the fighters of the Kaurav family. When the Pandavas went to exile, Abhimanyu was actually taken care by Krishna in Dwarka, and that is where Krishna was training Abhimanyu to become an expert fighter. So his prowess was not known to Kauravas. And Abhimanyu, when Bhishma Pitamaha was the commander-in-chief, he was fighting so valiantly with Bhishma that Bhishma was so fascinated by the fighting spirit of Abhimanyu. He was thinking, oh my God, this boy, 16-year-old boy, is fighting so valiantly. Who is this boy? So Bhishma inquired, who are you? And then Abhimanyu introduces himself. So even Bhishma was so fascinated, and he was so enthralled by the fighting spirit of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was Maharatha. Can you imagine a 16-year-old boy, and he is a very powerful fighter. And we should know, since Abhimanyu is now being mentioned here, I want to really describe about him a little bit. It so happened that on the 10th day, Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, and 11th day, Dronacharya became the commander-in-chief of the Kaurava party. Now, on the 11th day and 12th day, nothing happened, and Duryodhana was seething with anger. He was thinking, what is happening? He went to Dronacharya and said, what are you doing? It's already been the 12th day of the fight, and none of the Pandavas are dead. All the 5 Pandavas are still alive. What kind of fighting are you doing? Now Dronacharya was being incited like this by Duryodhana, and he became very angry, and Dronacharya said on the 12th night of the battle, he said, Duryodhana, tomorrow you ensure that you distract Arjuna and Krishna away from the battlefield, and I will do the rest. I will take care, because tomorrow I am going to use the Chakravyuha. It's a military phalanx. It is a very beautiful and very, very powerful vyuha, military science, Chakravyuha, and I'm going to form that tomorrow, but you ensure that Arjuna is away from the battlefield, because Arjuna was the only one who could actually fight when the Chakravyuha was formed. So Shishruma and another person, I just don't recall right now. So 13th day, Shishruma was assigned the task of taking Krishna and Arjuna away from the battlefield, and they went so far away that they could not return in time. So now what happened when this Chakravyuha was formed? When Krishna and Arjuna was away, this Chakravyuha was formed by Dronacharya, and Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas, the other 4 Pandavas, were in anxiety, because now they knew that we are trapped. We are going to be killed, and this war is going to end, and that's the end of it. Because Chakravyuha, only Arjuna was aware how to fight with this particular science of Chakravyuha. So now that is when this little boy, 16-year-old boy, Abhimanyu, comes and tells, my dear uncle, please, don't worry, I am going to handle this. Yudhishthira was like, what? You are going to handle? What are you talking about? And he says, yes. When I was in the womb of my mother Subhadra, my father Arjuna had explained everything about the Chakravyuha, and I am completely aware of how to enter the Chakravyuha, but unfortunately I do not know how to come out of Chakravyuha, because my mother slept half the way while my father was explaining. So this is another very beautiful science we should know, and especially mothers who want to give birth to children. There is a science of Garbha Samvada. You can actually speak to the child inside the womb, and the child can actually learn right from the womb itself. So that is why earlier we used to form, there was a system of Garbha Samskara or Garbhadhana Samskara. The very first samskara of all the 16 samskaras is the Garbhadhana Samskara. So very important, but today that science is lost. Not lost, it is there, but people do not follow. So that is how the child Abhimanyu had heard everything about the Chakravyuha, and he said, I am going to enter, and you please support me. Yudhishthira said, no, how can I let you inside the den of a lion? These people will kill you. And what will I tell to Arjuna? I will not be able to show my face to Arjuna if something happens to you, Abhimanyu. Then Abhimanyu said, my dear uncle, please, if at all we want to survive today, we have to do this. Please believe in me. I know how to tackle this. Please, you are there right behind me. Please support me and I will take care of the rest. And they said, okay, all right. And that is how Abhimanyu was breaking the Chakravyuha and entering the Chakravyuha. But it so happened that in between there was this Jayadratha. And Jayadratha had got boon and he could not be defeated by any one of these Pandavas. So he stopped all these 4 Pandavas single-handedly. And what happened was, Abhimanyu had entered the Chakravyuha, he entered so deep into the lion's den, and when he looked back, he saw that his uncles are all far behind, and now he knows that I have no other option other than fighting these Maharathis all by myself. And then, this boy, 16-year-old boy, was trapped by all these cowherds. Dronacharya, Duryodhana, Karna, Shakuni, Ashwathama, all these people surrounded Abhimanyu, breaking the laws and the codes of military science. They all started attacking this one single boy at once. That was completely against the laws of the fighting, the codes of conduct while fighting the war. Can you imagine? The Maharathis had become cowherds and they were attacking Abhimanyu from all different directions, shooting arrows at him. And this great boy, Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, was fighting so valiantly even then that he had arrows from front and back and everywhere, but still he was fighting with these people like anything. And they were really astonished to see this boy fighting like that. And then finally he fell down and he says, I am not sad about dying. I am not afraid of dying. But I am sad that I am dying in the hands of cowards like you people. That was Abhimanyu's words. And he said, very soon when my uncle and my father, they will come and they will ensure that all you people will die very soon in the next few days. That was the words of Abhimanyu. That is how powerful Abhimanyu was. So, these people, cowherds, were attacking him and they finally killed him. So that was a very wrong thing that Dronacharya and everybody else did on the battlefield. So that was not accepted. And that humiliated Arjuna and Krishna like anything. So we will see how that is all going to come up in the next. So that is Abhimanyu. And then Draupadeyascha. Draupadi also had begotten one son from each of the Pandavas. So you see that how Pandavas, the 5 sons of the Pandavas were Prativindya, Sutasoma, Shrutakarma, Satanika and Shrutasena. So these are the 5 sons of the 5 Pandavas begotten by each of the Pandavas from Draupadi. So Achyutan sir is saying, why was it wrong to kill Abhimanyu? It was not wrong to kill Abhimanyu, but attacking Abhimanyu simultaneously was wrong. According to the codes of military science, according to the rules of the war, one fighter is supposed to fight with one person. They are supposed to fight with one-to-one fight is to happen. But here they were fighting not just from the front but also from the behind. They were attacking him from behind. That is against the Kshatriya rule. Kshatriyas means one-to-one. They have to fight face to face. That is the spirit of Kshatriyas. But today it's not like the modern militaries and the wars that happen. You know, somewhere you sit on the top of the mountain, you throw some bombs, hiding from somewhere behind the bushes, you shoot people. That is not military science. That is not Kshatriya spirit. Kshatriya spirit means face to face. You fight with me face to face with bows and arrows or clubs or spears, but fight face to face. That is Kshatriya spirit. Not like today's war field and war science. It is totally against the Kshatriya spirit. So that was wrong, killing Abhimanyu and attacking Abhimanyu, all of them together and from all different directions. So that was wrong. So that is how Abhimanyu was killed, and then all these five Pandavas also, the sons of Pandavas, were also very great fighters on the side of the Pandavas. Now let's understand the next word, because today's title I kept it as Duryodhana's diplomacy. Why is it called Duryodhana's diplomacy is understood in the next one, in the 7th and the 8th shlokas. Actually, the 8th shloka will justify Duryodhana's diplomacy. Let's understand that. So, in the 7th shloka, now let me call upon Sudarshan ji, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Can you speak something? Let's see if you're audible.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Good. Please repeat. Asmakam tu vishishtaye.
अस्माकं तु विशिष्टाये
Tanibodhat vijottamah.
सन्निबोधद्विजोत्तम
Nayaka mama sainyasya.
नायका मम सैन्यस्य
Samnyatam tangravimite.
संज्ञार्थं तान् प्रवीमिते
Wonderful. Please repeat the word-to-word meaning. Asmakam.
अस्माकं
Our. To. But. Vishishtaha.
विशिष्टाः
Especially powerful.
especially powerful
Those.
those
Tan. Them.
them
Nibodha.
Bodha
Just take note.
just take note
Be informed.
be informed
Dvijottamah.
Vijottamaha
The best of the Brahmanas.
the best of the Brahmanas
Nayakaha.
Nayakaha
Captains.
captain
Mama.
Mama
My.
my
Sainyasya.
Sainyasya
Of the soldiers.
of the soldiers
Samnyatam.
Samnyartham
For information.
for information
Tan. Them.
them
Bravimi.
Ravimi
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking
Te.
they
Yours.
your
Please repeat the translation. O best of the Brahmanas.
O best of the Brahmanas
For your information.
for your information
Let me tell you about the captains
about the captains
who are especially qualified
who are especially qualified
to lead my military force.
to lead my military force.
Okay, so now this is very interesting. So Duryodhana, in the last few verses, he's been glorifying the power of the Pandavas. He's taking the names of all these different great Pandavas, and now suddenly he thought that if I simply keep on glorifying the strength of the Pandavas, the great fighters on my side may get demotivated, and I should not make them fearful by talking about the opposition's strength so much. So now he's shifting his words, his mood, and now he's addressing Dronacharya and saying, "Oh, best of the Brahmanas, Dvijottama." Dvija means Brahmana, twice born. Dvija, Ja means birth, Dvi means twice. So Dvija means twice born. Why is he called twice born? We all are born once, right? from our parents, when we come out of our mother's womb, that is our first birth. But when we take Diksha, when we take an initiation from a spiritual master, that is the day when we get our second birth into the spiritual life. Because material life, we get it from our parents naturally. But the second, that is the spiritual life, we take birth again when we are initiated by a spiritual master. So that is why Dvijottamaha. So Dronacharya has been addressed here. Now already he has incited a little bit of anger previously by telling him indirectly foolish. But now he is telling you are very, very great. Dvijottama. For your information, let me tell you that there are many great heroes on my side also. And I am going to tell you all the great heroes who are on my side. So let's see who are those great heroes. Srinivas Madali ji, you can unmute yourself. So please repeat. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
Kripascha Samitim Jayah
Vipascha Samitim Jayah
Ashwathama Vikarnasya
Aswattama Vikarnasya
Somadattistataiva cha.
Somadattisya Taita.
Wonderful. So please repeat the word to word meaning. Bhavan,
Bhavan
yourself.
yours
Bhishma,
Bhishma
grandfather Bhishma.
grandfather Bhishma
Cha,
Cha
also.
also
Karnaha,
Karnaha
Karna.
Karna
Cha,
Cha
and.
and
Kripaha,
Vipaha
Kripa. Cha,
Cha
and.
and
Samitinjaya,
Samitinjaya
always victorious in battle.
always victorious in battle.
Ashwathama,
Aswathama
Ashwathama.
Aswathama
Vikarnaha,
Vikarnyaha
Vikarna.
Vikarna
Cha,
Cha
as well as. Somadattihi,
Somadattihi
the son of Somadatta.
son of Somadatta
Tataha,
Tasaha
and as. Eva,
Eva
certainly.
certainly
Cha,
Cha
and. Please repeat the translation. There are personalities like yourself,
there are personalities like yourself,
Bhishma,
Bhishma,
Karna,
Karna,
Kripa,
Kripa,
Ashwathama,
Ashwathama,
Vikarna,
Vikarna,
and the son of Somadatta
and the son of Somadatta,
called Bhurishrava,
called Bhurishrava,
who are always victorious in battle.
who are always victorious in battle.
Okay, alright. So, this is a very, very interesting word. And this is where we actually understand how cunning, how intelligent this Duryodhana is. Now you just imagine, all of you, that you are in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All of you imagine that you are there in the battle of Kurukshetra and Duryodhana is right in front of you speaking to Dronacharya. And you should know that when a king is speaking, all others are very carefully listening to the king. There is absolute silence there and everybody is listening to the king. And that is Duryodhana. So now, Duryodhana is speaking to Dronacharya, and the very first name that he is taking while describing the different fighters on his side is Bhavan. The sequence in which the names are taken is very, very important. Bhavan means it's actually a very respectable second person address. Like in our Indian languages, we use, in Hindi we use aap, we don't say tu. Neevu in Kannada. Ninu. It's a Bahuvachana and Ekvachana. So here he is using the Bahuvachana and he is saying Bhavan. Who is he referring to? Bhavan. He is saying to Dronacharya. Very first name he is taking is Dronacharya. But why is he taking Dronacharya's name? Actually, Bhishma is the commander-in-chief. Superiority wise, Bhishma is very powerful and very superior to Dronacharya also in terms of fighting spirit. But he is right in front of Dronacharya. So internally he is thinking, how can I actually take Bhishma's name now, because Dronacharya is right in front of me. And you can also imagine you are talking to someone and in front of someone, if you take somebody else's name, this person may feel snubbed. He may feel it is inappropriate. So very intelligently, although Bhishma is the commander-in-chief, he is still taking the name of Dronacharya first because Dronacharya happens to be a Brahmana. And in the Vedic times, Brahmana is superior than the Kshatriya. Bhishma is a Kshatriya. So Duryodhana is thinking, if I take Dronacharya's name, Bhishma will not mind. Although he is the commander-in-chief, he will understand that he is a Kshatriya and respecting a Brahmana is not a problem. So Bhishma will not mind if Dronacharya's name is taken first. So that is why Duryodhana is taking Dronacharya's name first. He is doing so much of calculations inside, you can imagine. And then he is taking the name of Bhishma. Bhavan Bhishma. Now Bhishma is a very powerful fighter. And we will understand the strength of the Bhima in the next few verses. I want to keep it reserved. But right now let us talk about discussion on Bhishma. And then he is taking the name of Karna. So now you should all know, at this point of time, Karna is not even on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He is not there on the battlefield. But still Karna's name is being taken here immediately after Bhishma's name. Why Karna was not on the battlefield is because just before the war began, Duryodhana had gone to Bhishma because he is the commander and he said, please, assess the strength of our army and the Pandava army, and you also analyze the strength of our own captains here and the leaders. And that is how when Bhishma was evaluating the strength of all the different leaders on the Kaurava side, he had rated Karna very lowly. And Karna became very angry. This Bhishma always denigrates me. He always puts me down. I am such a great warrior. I can finish this war in just few days. That was Karna's statement. And he said, no, I cannot fight this. As long as Bhishma is going to be there, I am not going to fight. And Bhishma was angered and he said, Karna, I wish your words were as powerful as your actions. No, he said your actions were as powerful as your words. So that was a very insulting, he felt very insulted. He said, Bhishma said, you have always been defeated by Arjuna. We should know, many times people have this misconception that Karna is very superior than Arjuna. But which is not true. You tell me one instance where Karna actually defeated Arjuna. Actually, there is no incident in the whole of Mahabharata where Karna actually showed his superiority or proved himself to be more superior than Arjuna. On the contrary, Arjuna was very expert and in fact he defeated Karna on many occasions. I just want to give this very important few instances because many people get confused and they think that Karna was superior than Arjuna, which is not true. You should all know that when Pandavas and the Kauravas, they were trained by Dronacharya, and after finishing their military education, when they were back to Hastinapura, So there in Hastinapura, there was an exhibition. They had to exhibit, all the Kauravas and the Pandavas, they had to exhibit the military science and the military prowess they had learned from Dronacharya. And everyone was performing very beautifully, and that is when Arjuna excelled all of them, including the Pandavas. Arjuna was the best among the fighters when it was among the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Arjuna was amazing. And that time Duryodhana was seething with anger. He was thinking, he was very envious about Arjuna. This Arjuna is so powerful. Very, very powerful. He was thinking like that. And at that time, immediately there was a thunderous entry of Karna. And that is when Karna came into the picture. The very first encounter between Arjuna and Karna was on that field when there was exhibition happening between both Kauravas and Pandavas. And Karna said, I can do everything that Arjuna has done. And he did also. He took the permission from Dronacharya and he was on equal par as of Arjuna. He did everything best that was possible. And that is when Duryodhana was so happy. He said, yes, in the future when there is a war, I can fight with Bhima, but now have another person to fight with Arjuna, and that is this person, Karna. And then this Karna became very boisterous, and he said, he was full with pride, and he said, I want to have a combat, one-to-one combat with this Arjuna. And then Dronacharya said, that is all right, but you see, there can be fight only among equals. He is the son of a king. Please let us know your identity. And that is when Karna's head fell. And that is when Duryodhana interrupts, he interjects. And he is so cunning and intelligent, he has already seen the strength of Karna. And now at this point of time, Duryodhana can quote Shastras also. Please remember, this Duryodhana is expert in Shastra Jnana also. Duryodhana in fact said in Mahabharata, I know Dharma. I know very well what is Dharma, but I cannot follow Dharma. That was his weakness. So here, immediately he comes and he says, Dronacharya, how can you not allow him to fight? You know, he is such a great fighter. And such a great fighter cannot come out of some weak person. A lion cannot be born from a cat. That is the kind of analogy he gives. He says he is a great fighter, and I am sure that he is definitely born from a Kshatriya family. And Dronacharya says, nothing doing. He has to be the son of king. Then Duryodhana says, I will make him the king of Anga Pradesha. And that is how at this moment Karna became so indebted to this Duryodhana, and he said, here is a person who is recognizing my strength, who is recognizing my skills, and he is making me the king of Angadesha. Now my life is dedicated to this person, this Duryodhana. But you see, Duryodhana was very cunning and he had his self-interest in doing all this. He wanted to use Karna for his satisfaction and to have some strength on his side. Otherwise, there was nothing so great about this friendship. Many people talk about the friendship between Karna and Duryodhana. Actually, there was self-interest that Duryodhana had. And then Atirata, the father, Atirata was not actual father. The actual father is Surya Devata. Karna is born out of Kunti and Surya. And Kunti was unmarried at that time, and that is why she had to leave him in the river. You know that story. And Atirata and Radhe are the one who actually, they were blessed with this Karna, and they actually raised him. And now they got to know that he is a Sutaputra, and he was made a king by Duryodhana. And Karna was, that is the first encounter, by the way. And then while this discussion was happening, there was sunset, and then it stopped. There was no more combat between both of them. The second instance was after this training, after the education, Dronacharya asked for Guru Dakshina, and that is when the Guru Dakshina was they have to go and defeat Drupada. And Duryodhana sprung into action and he said, I am going to fight. And all the 100 brothers along with Karna, they went to Panchal Desh, but they were defeated badly, so badly, all of them came back running from Panchal Desh, including Karna. So Karna could not defeat Drupada. But whereas the Panch Pandavas, all of them go, they defeat Drupada very badly and they pull him down at the feet of Dronacharya. And although Drupada was humiliated at that point of time, but Drupada also got a desire. Oh, what a wonderful, fighter this Arjuna is. If I had a daughter, I would like to have my daughter married to this Arjuna, and that way I can have this great fighter as my relative. So Drupada had already thought about it. So that was another instance where Karna was not able to fight Drupada, but whereas Arjuna defeated Drupada. So that way Arjuna was much superior than Karna. Another instance was when all the Pandavas were into exile, sent to exile. Then Duryodhana once thought that all his brothers and everybody, they went to the forest to exhibit their power and exhibit their opulence and all the comforts and make the Pandavas envious. And Karna was also there. So when they were entering the forest, it so happened that they actually entered the area which was actually meant for the Gandharvas. So the Gandharvas became very offended by the entry of Duryodhana, and the Gandharvas attacked the Duryodhana and party, including Karna. And Karna was very badly defeated and injured, and he had to run away from that place. And that is when this news goes to Bhima and Yudhishthira and everyone else, Pandavas. Then Yudhishthira said, let's go and help our brothers. Bhima told, what are you talking, my brother? They have sent us to exile and you want us to go and help them? I am not going to do that. Then Yudhishthira had to convince Bhima and said, Bhima, what great pleasure you will get. Just imagine when you are helping your enemies and freeing them from danger. That is the greatest joy that you can get. And then Bhima was very, very puffed up. Yes, now I am going to go. And Arjuna, Bhima, both of them went and defeated the Gandharvas and freed Duryodhana and party. Because Yudhishthira told, see, among ourselves, we are 100 plus 5. But for outsiders, we are 105 brothers. So that is why the Gandharvas were defeated, and yet another instance which proves that Arjuna was much superior than Karna. And the ultimate fight that happened between Karna and Arjuna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That was the 17th day, when Karna and Arjuna, both of them had a very intense fight. And while the fight was going on, it so happened that Karna's chariot was stuck. And there Karna is saying, oh Arjuna, don't be a coward. Wait until I get onto my chariot. Don't shoot your arrows. Don't be inspired by adharma. And that is when our Krishna says, Arjuna, fight now and defeat and shoot arrows at him. Arjuna said, how can I do this? This is adharma. Krishna said, I have given dharma to all of you, so don't worry, you fight. And Krishna told Karna also, Karna, where was your code of conduct and morality when Draupadi was disrobed in the Asat Sabha? Where was the code of morality when Abhimanyu was killed by in a cowardly manner? Where was your, all this morality when so many ill names were taken against Draupadi? How can you now talk about morality? So that is when here Krishna is teaching us Shatoshatyam, the principle of Shatoshatyam. With the cunning, use cunningness. You have to be cunning with cunning people. That is how Krishna is very expert in dealing with dharma. He knows. And unfortunately, in our own history of India, this principle was not followed by many kings. And that is why we were invaded by so many Mughal rulers. You know what the Mughals used to do? They knew that the Indian rulers, they worship mother cow, and in the wars, these Muslim rulers used to bring lot of cows, and our Hindu rulers were never used to shoot arrows because mother cow is there. And these people, the Mughal armies, used to hide behind the cows, and they used to kill our soldiers and kings. That is how they did. Many times when in the battles in our history, we have seen these Mughal rulers used to kill cows and put that flesh and blood into the rivers, and our soldiers would not be able to drink that water because they used to think, oh, it contains the flesh of cow, how can we drink this? And without water they used to become weak, and then these Mughal rulers used to come and attack our soldiers. So that is why Krishna is saying, Shatoshathyam, with the cunning, you need to use cunningness to defeat them. So that is about Karna, and I don't want to go into much of history, but this is some context we need to understand why this Duryodhana is taking these names, although Karna is not there on the battlefield. So Karna also was not there on the battlefield because he said, I don't want to be on the battlefield as long as Bhishma is the commander-in-chief. Because what if I am going to fight very valiantly and then all the credit will finally go to Bhishma? That was not desirable for him. Many times in the cricket matches also, when the certain team wins the World Cup, the ultimate credit goes to the captain. It is said that under the captaincy of so and so, the World Cup was won. Although many other players have played very well, but ultimately the credit goes to the captain. So here, Karna thought that I will not give the credit to Bhishma. So I am not going to fight. Now Duryodhana was thinking, he was very confident about the commitment of Karna, but he was not confident about the commitment of Dronacharya and Bhishma. So he thought it is better to have Bhishma and Drona right now on the battlefield. Although Karna is not fighting, it's okay. He is my friend, and whenever I call him, he will definitely come in the future. So he was very much aware of his Karna's commitment towards him. So he thought, okay, Karna, you be aside. And then he is taking Kripa. Kripascha Samitinjaya. Kripa is also a Kulaguru, and Kripa had a boon that he cannot be defeated in the battlefield. That's why Samitinjaya, he was always victorious. But Kripa in turn blessed Yudhishthira before the battle that you cannot defeat me, Yudhishthira, but you will be victorious. I will bless you that you will become victorious. So Kripa was also a very great fighter. Ashwathama, you know Ashwathama, the son of Dronacharya. Ashwathama was not the commander-in-chief. In the whole 18 days of the battlefield, the first 10 days, Bhishma was the commander-in-chief. The next 5 days, Drona was the commander-in-chief. The next 2 days, Karna was commander-in-chief. And the final day, 18th day, Shalya was commander-in-chief. And after the war was over, only the 18th night, that is when Ashwathama became the commander. Although he was not the commander, he went and killed the 5 sons of Pandavas. That too in the dead of the night. So Ashwathama was not the commander in one sense, but in the 18th day, final 18th night, he went and killed the 5 Pandavas. And Ashwathama had a jewel on his forehead. This was a very powerful jewel. Right from the birth he had acquired this, and this jewel was so powerful that it could protect him from any insects or snakes or any dangers from even thirst and hunger. So he would never die out of hunger and thirst. That was how powerful that money was. And finally that money was taken away from Ashwathama by Krishna when he released the Brahmastra at the womb of Uttara to kill Parikshit Maharaj in the womb. So he's also a Chiranjeevi. Ashwathama is still existing. Even now he is existing, and unfortunately he is experiencing a lot of pain because Krishna has cursed him that until the final Pralaya happens, he will suffer like that. And then Vikarna. Who is Vikarna? Vikarnascha. Vikarna is the youngest brother of Duryodhana. Now interestingly, why Duryodhana is taking Vikarna's name and not the name of his very dear brother Dushasana? He could have actually taken Dushasana's name here. And Dushasana is the right hand man of Duryodhana. But he is not taking Dushasana's name, but he is taking Vikarna's name. Why Vikarna? Because when the Asat Sabha, when Draupadi was bought in the Asat Sabha, when she was tried to disrobe, she was being tried to disrobe by Dushasana, out of all the 100 brothers, it was only Vikarna who raised his voice and he said, this is adharma. What we are doing is adharma. It is incorrect. He was the only person who spoke against disrobing Draupadi. So that is why Duryodhana is taking Vikarna's name here and trying to tell, okay, although you were in favor of the Pandavas that time, don't become lenient here, Vikarna. You have to fight on my side with full fierce. So that is why he is specifically taking Vikarna's name. So you can understand how Duryodhana is talking with these people and manipulating, the perceptions of the people and trying to maintain a balance between, all the leaders. So he's very diplomatic. So before I go to the next section, I just want to see if there are any questions here, because I was totally ignoring the comment section because the screen was in the sharing mode. Let me see. Yes, there are just 8 minutes more. So I don't want to go to the next words. We will discuss the next words in the next class. But I would like to take some questions now. So Chaitanya is asking, but I heard because of promise made to Arjuna's mother, Karna says he would not kill Arjuna, not sure if it is right. No, that was not the only reason, and there was no such promise. Actually, in fact, if you see, when Karna came onto the battlefield, and he was given a special astra by Indradev. What happened was, before the war, Indra went to Karna and he said, Indra took the form of a Brahmana and he went to Karna and said, I am a Brahmana and please give me your kavacha, the kavacha that Karna had. Now Karna was very well aware that it is Indra and he's come here to take this kavacha from me so that Arjuna is protected. Arjuna is the son of Indra. Right? So at this point, you should know that Indra, although he took the weapon, the kavacha from Karna, he blessed Karna with a weapon, a very powerful weapon, and he said that whosoever name you take and release this weapon, you can kill that person. And that is when, on the battlefield, Karna was very sure now. The next day he told Duryodhana, I am going to kill Arjuna tomorrow by releasing this weapon. And that is when he was very confident that he will kill Arjuna the next day. But Krishna, at this point of time, called Ghatotkacha into the battlefield. And who is Ghatotkacha? Ghatotkacha is the son of Bhima. Bhima and Hidimba. So Ghatotkacha was brought into the battlefield at the right time, and Ghatotkacha created a havoc in the Kaurava in the army. He killed many soldiers and it was uncontrollable, and if he was not stopped, Ghatotkacha was not stopped, then he would finish off the Kaurava army completely. And that is when Duryodhana also ordered Karna, use your weapon now, not on Arjuna but on Ghatotkacha, and kill Ghatotkacha. And this weapon could be used only once. And there goes the plan. There goes the plan. Karna was very much desirous of killing Arjuna, but then Ghatotkacha came in between and took that blow of the weapon onto him, and Arjuna was safeguarded. Arjuna was protected. So that is how it was. Karna was wanting to kill Arjuna also. So I hope that answers. Vinit says that I recall Krishna praised Karna during the war, and when Arjuna asked why, Krishna told him that the reason that their chariot was not pushed back as much as Karna on getting hit by because of Krishna's presence? Didn't it mean that Karna was more powerful than Arjuna? Actually, it was on the 16th day of the battle. That is when there was this fight between Arjuna and Karna, and it so happens that this Shalya became the charioteer. Shalya and Karna, they did not gel, although they were fighting both from the side of Kaurava. Shalya became the charioteer of Karna. And while Karna was fighting, this Shalya was abusing Karna like anything. Oh, you are a cow, you are a waste fellow, you are not a great army fighter, and this and that. And Karna was very distracted by this charioteer, Shalya. And yes, you said right that yes, Arjuna was fighting with Karna, and at one particular instance where Karna was, he shot an arrow, and just by the presence of Krishna, Arjuna was protected. But although that was just one of an instance, it doesn't mean that Arjuna was less powerful than Karna. No. That was just one instance where Krishna definitely protected Arjuna, but that doesn't mean that he was more powerful than Arjuna. So yes, I'm sure. Yeah, it is right actually, but that is the only instance where Krishna protected. And there is a very nice instance and clarification given by Madhvacharya. Let me get back to you on this particular question. It's a very good question. I am just not recalling. Madhvacharya has given an answer to this as well. I will just definitely get back to you on this. Why that specifically that particular instance happened? There is a background to that. I will give you that answer in the next session soon. Yeah. And then Achyutan is again asking, what if Karna wasn't the son of a king? Yes, actually, according to the Vedic times, it was a rule that no fight can happen between unequal varnas. Only a Kshatriya can fight with a Kshatriya. So, if there was a Brahmana, the Kshatriya was not given permission to fight with other classes like Brahmana, Vaishya, and Shudra. Kshatriya, it is an insult to a Kshatriya if he fights with a lower person in Varna. So that way there was no question of fighting between Kshatriya and a Shudra. Although Karna in one sense is not a Shudra, but he was accepted as a Sutaputra at that point of time. And that is why he was made king by Duryodhana, and then he became equal, and both of them fought later on. And then Karna is the son of Surya Dev and Kunti Devi. Exactly, absolutely. But at that point of time, he was not. Even Karna was not aware that he was the son of Surya Dev. He was thinking that I am the son of Suta, Adhiratha. Okay, so let me take more questions because I think in the next few minutes, let me take one or two more questions, and then we will proceed next. If there is any feedback, that also will be very nice because I would like to get some feedback from all of you so that we can make this whole session more experiential. I hope this timing is okay for all of you because I'm not sure if 11 to 12:30 on a Sunday. I just thought this would be nice and I called all of you. I just wanted to know from you. Please let me know if this timing is okay for all of you. Okay, so Vinod is saying perfect timing. Okay, great. Timing is perfect. Okay, great, wonderful. Okay, good. So if there is any other feedback also, it will be very nice. Because this is very important, and I also want all of you, I am making you people chant the shlokas. The reason behind is because these shlokas are very purifying, and although we may not be able to chant them completely appropriately, that's okay, but it is very important to chant the shlokas because just by chanting the shlokas which are directly spoken by Krishna himself, is very, very purifying. And I hope that you are all relishing these, because I'm just excited and I just keep talking about so many background thing about Mahabharata also, because it is very interesting to know the background before we actually enter the Bhagavad Gita, because later on it's going to become very philosophical, and a lot of concepts will come, a lot of principles will come. It's very important to understand the background as well. So that's why I'm sharing all these in detail a little bit, so that you know the context. No, Vinodji, actually we don't have to learn Sanskrit. In fact, by chanting these shlokas, we will develop a taste for Sanskrit, and this is good enough Sanskrit for us. Whatever Sanskrit we will learn through Bhagavad Gita, this is very good, and I think this should be sufficient for you. If it is your interest, you want to learn Sanskrit, that is well and good, but otherwise you don't have to necessarily learn Sanskrit in order to understand Bhagavad Gita. Absolutely no. So don't worry about the language, and we are going to speak in English, and we are going to discuss this whole thing in English, and we will explain through analogies and different examples, so that it becomes very easy to understand. So Sanskrit is not the must to know Bhagavad Gita, understand Bhagavad Gita. The kings at those times married many times. Was it right? Yes, a very good question. Actually, in the olden days, the kings used to marry a lot of women because they could also protect the women. And in the olden days, most of them, at the age of 7, they used to go to the Gurukula, and majority of the men used to remain brahmacharis. So the amount of the number of men who would actually marry was very less, and whereas the population of women was much more. And women, according to the Vedic culture, have to be protected. Women, according to the Vedic culture, have to be protected in the childhood by the father, after the marriage by the husband, and in the old age by the sons, grown-up children. That doesn't mean that women were not given freedom. That doesn't mean that women were not educated. That doesn't mean that women were not very intellectual or powerful. No, they had their own set of strengths, which we will discuss in our future discussions. But a woman has to be protected by a man, and that is the reason, since many of the men used to remain brahmacharis, Naishtika brahmachari. One fine example is Bhishma himself. We will understand it in the next session. So there were many men who used to remain Naishtika brahmacharis for life. So women used to be married, men used to marry a lot of women, and they used to also protect them. Now that cannot happen today. Now we cannot manage even one wife. So what to speak of multiple wives? So we don't have to even get into this discussion of, if at all you're thinking or anybody is thinking of having multiple wives, please don't get into that. We cannot do that. We cannot manage right now multiple wives. So that was one reason why they used to have multiple wives. They used to protect the wives also. In fact, Krishna himself had 16,108 wives. But if you see, Krishna had 16,108 palaces for each of the queens. And very beautifully it is described how Krishna was personally present with each one of them at the same time. So Krishna could expand himself into so many numbers and be present and give that undivided attention to each of his wives. That we cannot do. If we have to be with one wife, another wife will feel neglected. When we are with other wives, then other one will be neglected. Yes, Samirji.
I just want to ask one thing. Was the war fought like one-on-one? In the sense like a kabaddi match? Rest would see and one would fight and wait for the other result?
Yes, generally when the leaders were fighting, when they used to have a combat with the leaders, it used to be one-on-one. So at the time there was no other, although the soldiers used to fight with other soldiers, but then you cannot actually come and fight when you are already engaged with another person in fighting. So that is how it used to be one-on-one. So
Okay.
Unless like Maharathis, they used to challenge because they had the capacity to fight with 1,000 people. They used to invite, okay, I am ready to fight with 2 or 3 or 10 people, but he has to agree. As a leader, as a fighter, he has to agree, I am going to fight with all of you together, you fight with me. But unless he gives that right, nobody will come and fight with him unless that is the challenge. When he accepts that challenge, no problem. He can fight with 10 or 20 people also.
That was an unwritten rule or something, Kshatriya.
Yes, that was, the Kshatriyas used to follow that principles of war, the codes of conduct, and that is how no fight used to happen before the sunrise and after the sunset. So that was the rule, and there were many other rules. No hitting people from the behind. So all that was happening. Many rules were there. We will discuss those also in the future.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
It is not like the modern military fights that we see in the wars. No, that was completely different at that time.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
So, all right. So, I think that's it for today. And thank you so much for joining. And we will meet again next Sunday at the same time and same me. All right. Thank you so much for joining.